Hello friends and gamers, my name is Jinx, and if you're a fan of Global War 1936, published by Historical Board Gaming, I have a fun announcement for you guys today. The launching of the Global War 1936 annual YouTube War Tournament starting in January 2024. Players will sign up and battle every year to be crowned that year's worldwide champions for Global War 1936. Players will begin by selecting or choosing somehow a nation to play. Germany and Italy, USSR and CCP, Japan, British Commonwealth, or USA and KMT. They battle it out within their first tier game, and the winners of that game move on to the second tier. And again, choosing a nation to play, they battle it out, and the winners of that game become the tournament winners of that year. So it's all going to be very fun, very interesting, and we already have quite a few people signed up to play. So it'll be a lot of fun. Now I should state too that this is all just for example purposes. All operational names, images, characters is just for example. We have a few people signed up already. I asked around a little bit to see who was interested. We have a few characters already signed up. So if you are interested, drop your name in the comments below. If you like, you can give me a little picture as well, or I'll have to search the internet to try to find a picture for you just to make it all artistically looking nice. And then we'll add you to the list. Now, how will we choose which nations to play? We'll get into that in a moment. But first of all, admire this. Admire my artistry. Admire it because it takes a bit of effort. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. You could be operations of different names. Battle Axe, Acrobat, Candy Tuft. I think Candy Tuft would be awesome. Anyways, we can make it that people customize it in any way, shape, or form. You can choose your name, of course. We can go with your username, profile picture. You and your group could choose your operational name, and we'll move on to the final tier. Now, I'll probably end up choosing the name of the final tournament, but everything else is more or less customizable. How will we select players? Well, that's going to be in this little drop here. How do we allocate players to nations? Now we could do it a few different ways. We could all have everybody roll a dice. Now we could do that virtually through the internet. I'll sign everybody up, write everybody's name down, and then highest number chooses which nation to do first. So that's one option of doing it. Another way is dictatorship, where I decide who gets to go, and that's not going to be ideal. I don't think that's very enjoyable at all. I think it's nice to have some level of democracy in our system, so I think what we should do is a rank order 3 picks, where every player submits a top 3 list of what they'd like to play, and it'd be something like, I'd want to play Germany and Italy combo first, maybe Japan second, and the common turn last. And so we, as the moderators, try to find a game that suits your preferences and make it happen in that sense, right? So that's one of the things. Now, you might ask too, I want to play with my friends. Can I choose, who I play with? Well, unfortunately, I'm not sure if we should do that because, some people might be all left out in the cold and it might not be fun, and we've all been there too. So it might be something that through your ranked order system, we'll be able to choose who you want to, you will choose which nation you'll play with through your ranked order preference, but we ourselves might sign you up with a specific group of people to play with because, life's not fair, and sometimes you're going to be saddled with somebody who's quite a bit more experienced than you or quite a little bit less experienced than you, and you might have some advantages. And so this takes that level of control out of your hands and puts it into mine, so I can dictate through your ranked order list who plays against who. Now, there's a few other questions that we can talk about. Let's talk about rules, for instance. Now, we want proper sporting behavior. Whenever there's a tournament, as my friend Wintermute would say, things can get ugly sometimes. And he prefers not to play in tournaments for that reason, because people start to care about winning too much, and it's not very enjoyable at that point. So we have a few rules in place. We want proper sporting behavior. Chivalry, leniency, stiff upper lip, don't be a sore loser, try to battle it out. If things go badly for you, just complete it to the end of the game. Another one is strictly no cheating. I mean, that goes without saying, but we have to say it because it's one of those things. Cheating wrecks it for you and everybody else. I've never understood the appeal behind it. You don't win in the same way if you cheat, right? It's going to be a different story. Turns should be uploaded to YouTube because I think that has a personal accountability there as well too, that if you are cheating, then there's a way of catching up on you. Also, it's enjoyable for other people to partake and watch. I think that'd be a lot of fun where everybody can watch how the game is going all above board. It'll be all interesting. And lastly, because we want to try to complete this game within a certain time period where we don't want to spend months and months and even almost a full year playing a game, so each game round must be completed within 7 days. These are the hard rules of the game that will generally have to stick. We have to complete each game round within 7 days. Now there will be exceptions too, where people will get, perhaps they'll get sick, or perhaps everybody will just mutually agree that we're all going to go on a holiday at the same time. And so in that case, yes, of course, but we should do our very best that each game round completed within 7 days, so that we have enough time to finish this thing and also potentially fight in a second round of combat for the second tier kind of battles as well too. So we want to have these things completed within a certain length of time. Now I'm toying around with different concepts like a reputational system. Now keep in mind too, there was some confusion there, that the winners of the tier 1 games move on to the second tier and become the tournament winners. That's fixed, locked in stone. It's just purely on victory points. That's it. That's the only reason you'd move on to the next one. But I'm playing around with this reputational system. Now, I've always enjoyed things that you have a reputation. You can see your win to loss ratio. You can see how well you did. I think it's kind of enjoyable because games taken in independent from all other games, they're fun, of course, but to have some sort of lasting legacy in some sense, I find that quite enjoyable. So we have this reputational system that you'll get points for certain things. Each game round complete within a 4-day period gets each participant 1 reputation point. That's to kind of encourage kind of skillful and diplomatic play, because people can be great players, and they can spend hours and hours and hours thinking about battling it out, calculating the odds. So sometimes it's about speed of play as well. It's not always about skill or the perfect plan move, but the perfect plan move played within a certain length of time. Like look at chess players. If they had infinite time to plan out their turn, well, you know, those games would go on forever. But yeah, you know, you might be an amazing player because you calculated every eventuality, but that doesn't necessarily make you a skilled player. So time does play a factor in it to some extent. So 4-day period, you get 1 reputational point. So the ideal is that the game itself would only last about 90 days, which is 17 and 21 turns. That's the length of the game as it is. So the idea behind it is you need to try to complete each game round to get underneath this 4-day period. If the game is only 17 rounds, so that's about 5¼ days per game round. And if the game ends up turning quite long, 21 days, then it's going to end up being about 4¼ days per game round. So you could kind of measure it by that. That's to encourage skillful play. Of course, you don't need to do that. You could always just keep it to this limit of complete the game within 7 days, but this is the ideal, of course. At the end of the game, each player is rewarded reputation points equal to victory points that their faction gained. So if you're playing as Italy, but the Axis collectively collect 12 victory points, then each Axis player collects 12 victory points, regardless of how you personally, what you achieved. At the end of the game, each player can secretly award 6 reward reputation points to any player or players at the table, or other tables for that instance. You can even reward it to yourself if you like. Now the concept behind that is, let's say you're playing as well as Italy, and you completely do an amazing job. For whatever reason, just the cards, the stars align, the cards are in your hand, and you do a great job and collect all your victory points, which is not all that much. But in the meantime, the Axis everywhere else just get kicked in, and it's not doing great, and so the Axis get, you know, last place. But the Italians themselves do okay, right? They keep all their victory points, they just do all that good. So other players can be like, oh, that was a particularly skillful win, so we're going to award you some reward reputation points. Now this is secretly, right? So all these reputation points they can just reward secretly and say, oh, you know, I'm going to give you these guys because that's just what I want to do. So that's something that you would talk with the moderator, send them a message on the specific channel, and that would sort itself out over a private message, whatever it is. I want to award these reputation points to this character because they did a particularly good job. You could even self-award them saying, I did a great job as the Italians, so I'm going to give myself some reward reputation points. No more than 3 reward reputation points can be awarded to a player from a single player. So of course the moderators will know whose all these points are coming from, and I'm not going to judge anybody at all. If you reward it to yourself, I might do it for myself as well if I feel I deserve it. But yeah, we will watch that you don't reward more than 3 reputation points. So the points are somewhat spread a little bit equally across the other players, you know, to mark not only how skillfully they played, but perhaps about their sportsmanlike behavior. If they did a great job, if they're really always, you know, they helped you on your turn or whatever it is, or just a good sounding board to your ideas. So that's the concept there. Reputation points will be used to help balance the tables in future games, tables for skill in future games. So if you did a great job, collected through your victory points, you got all your victory points, you're awarded highly for your skill, people just really liked what you got going on for sportsmanlike, so you will in future games, you know, if we need to sort out players a little bit more, we'll say, okay, this person got really great marks, reputation on the previous game, let's match him with other experienced and capable players, and that way we can have some very interesting games, and people won't be curb stomped, or new arrivals to the scene won't be completely hamstrung by the more experienced players, right? So we want some level of organization in that way. So that's the idea there. Reputation points are used to help keep sportsmanlike gameplay. Now, it's not just sportsmanlike, although I would say sportsmanlike is part of it, because part of being a good sportsman is doing a good job, right? And winning and all that other stuff. But it's also about being, you know, somewhat chivalrous and being honest and straightforward and efficient and all this other stuff as well. So it keeps everything in line. Another mark of this, of course, is through this secretly award 6 reputation. It ties into the next item, which is this black mark system. Now, in any tournament structure where the stakes are high, there's a potential chance that dishonest behavior will appear as well. Whether that is something like cheating on your tech dice and unhappy with that idea, so then you'll restart your video, roll those tech dice again until you get the perfect setup. So there's that, right? So there's always that risk that somebody will, in some fashion, be a little bit underhanded. So we have this system called the black mark system. At any point in any game, a player can secretly allocate a black mark to any player they suspect is cheating. Each player only has 1 black mark available to allocate per tournament. So that means that if you suspect one character is cheating, you could allocate that black mark, and that's basically to flag them for the moderators to watch carefully and to try to, see what your suspicions are all about. Black marks are used to notify the moderators of possible dishonest behavior, and the moderators will closely monitor the individual for any past or future dishonest activity. So that means we're going to look through your previous videos. That's why we want it uploaded on YouTube, to see if you have this tendency of doing really well with certain technologies or something like that. Different things, that certain battles really benefit you, or certain crucial battles really benefit you, or your ratings always go well, or mostly it's going to be in the tech dice. That's where I suspect, because that will happen at the start of people's videos, if they happen at all. So as to prevent wild accusations from sore losers, allocating black marks costs the accusing player 12 reputation points, which will be refunded if or when the dishonest activity is proven. So that means that so that you don't just willy-nilly accuse people and throw the black mark on them. So it will cost you something in regards to reputation points as well, because if you make it no cost, then people won't take it seriously. They'll just willy-nilly, put it out there if they think one person was being unfair, or somehow the dice did favor him in some sense. Oh, he's got to be cheating, or there might be some cheating involved there. So in this case, because it costs you something, then you can't just do it without any thinking behind it, right? So the cost of black marks to the player will not be evident to other players, as the reward reputation points are also secret. Only the moderators will know. So that's what ties into this previous thing, because there's this unknown factor where people might gain or miss out on reward reputation points. Then if you don't have this secret reward at reputation points, what might happen is somebody will suddenly have a deficit of 12 reputation points, and you could calculate it. You could say, okay, they won this previous game, and so that's what, since your reward reputation points equal victory point, and they could calculate you finished X amount of game rounds and underneath a 4-day period, so they can actually figure out how much you have. So with these reward reputation points being secret, it allows that level of, well, no, I just wasn't awarded any reward reputation points, and so that's why I have this deficit of 12 in my credits there, whatever it is, right? Or whatever it is, you get the idea behind it. Or I never rewarded myself, I didn't deserve that win, that's why I didn't get any reward reputation points. Or maybe I had missed too many games, and that's why I missed too many rounds, and that's why it didn't work out for me. By the way, jumping back to this, each game round gains each participant 1 reputation point. So each game round completed within a 4-day period gains each participant 1 reputation point. Now, the idea behind that is certain nations like Italy or America, their turns will be very brief. And so there is an argument to say, okay, it should be each player whose turn is beneath 24 hours or 12 hours will get a reputation point. First of all, that's going to be hard to keep track of. Second of all, certain nations will benefit quite a bit, like America and Russia in some cases. And then third of all, well, sometimes turns take long, right? Sometimes it takes a little while to calculate it out. And by having it, each participant gains 1 reputation point. It means that everybody will collectively nudge each other and also decide to kind of, hey, can I offer to help you out on your turn? Or here's some ideas of what you can do. Or here's some ideas of what you can buy, or what techs to roll for. Or I could roll for your tech, or whatever. It allows this kind of group support between each other. And on the flip side, it also means that if everybody's doing really well and everyone's pumping out turns, and then somebody shows up and they're like, I know I'm going to screw up everybody else. By being accountable to your other team players or other group players at your table, then it might actually speed things up. It's all psychology. So a fun little psychological fact, there was like a nursery or after school care, whatever it is. I think it was some sort of daycare. Anyways, so they made it that if people are supposed to pick up their kids at 4 o'clock every day, and people would show up and they would track this. Psychologists would track it, human behavior, and be like, okay, people showed up. This many people showed up late, and they apologized profusely because they had to force a teacher or whatever to stick around until somebody got stuck in traffic and they came by and picked them up. And then they watched this across a few different day homes or whatever, or not day homes, but nurseries, kindergartens, day schools, whatever it is. And then they watched as some of them initiated, or I guess it was economists, whatever it is, they initiated a cost and said, okay, well, we could charge for every late person, charge them $20 for being late, right? It doesn't matter if you're 5 minutes or half an hour, you show up late, you're charged $20. Well, they found actually that more people showed up if there was a fee than if there wasn't a fee. If it was just an apology, then people tended to pick up their kid at 4 o'clock. But by making a system where if you're late, you pay $20, and people would actually take advantage of that and routinely show up late, pay the $20 and or whatever the cost was, and there's more people left behind. So interesting, right? Psychology is interesting. So by having people reliant on other people and feel like you're letting other people down, it might actually get the game rounds out a little bit quicker. That was a bit of a tangent. Let's jump back to the black marks. So the cost of black marks will not be evident to other players. The black mark monitoring can take years across many tournaments and might not be limited to evidence from the tournament videos. So if somebody says, yeah, you're right, I was cheating back then, but I'm not cheating anymore. I don't know why that person put a black mark on me, but I wasn't cheating in this game. It doesn't really matter. We could watch you for a while, and that's just mostly to put the fear of being dishonest on you as well, too, where we might be watching you even though it's from 2 years in the past where somebody put a black mark on you. We might still be watching you. So it's just because we want psychologically to be watchful and to be accountable, because you don't know what's going on. And also part of it as well, okay, I guess I already addressed that. The threat of black marks might be sufficient to keep players honest, but we have an excellent community and we may never see them used, thankfully, for this black mark system. Now, if either enough black marks accrue or enough suspicious activity is present, moderators may ban the player permanently from participating. So sometimes we can't prove somebody's cheating, but if somebody finishes a tournament, and they had 2 black marks during that tournament, and last year they had another 2 black marks, there might be something suspicious, because sometimes gut instinct makes more sense, and you can't prove anything. You can't look through people's video and be like, oh, here's a freeze frame and a single mark here on a freeze frame, so that proves that there's something bad going on there. And then somebody will say, no, I accidentally bumped that infantry with my elbow when it was off camera, and that's why he's out of position. So it's really hard to prove, or can be hard to prove, but we might just say, okay, if there's enough black marks on somebody, they seem to be too successful, we might permanently ban you. Black marks can be used against all players, including players who are moderators, so nobody's excluded from that. If I'm particularly lucky in my technology dice rolls, and it happens to be that across the tournament or across multiple tournaments, I'm quite lucky, anybody could ban me, right? So we want to make it clear that nobody's above the law here. Everybody has to be accountable. So that takes care of that. Some of the ideas there: the black mark system, reputational system, and the proper rules behind the game. So those are some ideas. Now, what else? Tournament roles. Let's talk about tournament roles a little bit. Now, this is just me playing around a little bit. We have, of course, administrator, which is basically me trying to organize this thing, put it together. Now, for the record, I don't plan on being administrator forever. At some point, I'm going to hand this off to somebody else if I'm happy how it's going, because I seem to like to do creative things, and if there's enough people interested in this and it kind of takes off without me, I'll happily give it across to them. There'll be moderators an administrator will be on top, kind of calling the overall shots and how things are going. The moderators will be people who are volunteers, essentially, who will watch in certain cases. There might be a few, there might be many. We'll have to see how that pans out. I should state too that Edelwolf has been part of this and kind of came up to me and saying, hey, how about if we put together a tournament, so that he is probably going to be a moderator if he's still interested. It's something that I've been thinking about a while, about putting together a tournament. So this is part of it, and Edelwolf will be a moderator. I was thinking about being a newscaster if I have free time, or if there's enough players +1 to play all this table, then there might be some space. And if there is space, I might actually just be a newscaster for the fun of it. I might go through people's videos and every week put out a video saying, okay, in games A, B, and C, this is what's going on. Now, of course, there might also be a table marshal. We're going to probably assign either the German player or just a specific individual be the marshal, kind of to bump people along, make sure that they do their turns in a timely manner. And of course, then there are the players. So those are the rough ideas of what that will look like. Now, we want to build a bit of a community as well, because communities are fun. We can talk about stuff, share stuff, concepts, ideas. And the idea is, should we have a Discord server of our own, or go on the existing Board Gaming Bros Global War Discord server channel? Discord, for those of you who don't use a computer and Discord much, is kind of like, it's not like Facebook. It's like Facebook before it got modern, I guess is one way of saying it. You could upload pictures, you could upload videos, you can post in different kind of forums and threads, stuff like that. And it's kind of a cool way of communicating. It's all potentially anonymous there too. You don't need your real name or anything like that. You don't need to do anything. It's pretty good. It's a lot of fun. So it's a good kind of hub for activity. You can access it through your cell phone or through the computer as well too. So it's a nice little place to go on to find a community, right? Better than Facebook, I think, and WhatsApp for sure. So there's that. So should we set up our own server or piggyback off of a Board Gaming Bros channels? I haven't talked to a Board Gaming Bro and the moderators there. They have about 300 members, I think they announced the other day, so they have quite a decent community there too. Pros and cons. Should we go with the Discord server or should we of our own, or should we piggyback off of a Board Gaming Bros channel? Now, there's pros and cons. There's a large community, 300 people, and also the developers of Global War 36, historical board gaming, also participate once in a while on Board Gaming Bros channel, right? So there's that. So those are some two good sides of being part of that channel. Now, the idea about being on our own server is also kind of neat. First of all, we can have a customizing of channels. So in the case of a Board Gaming Bros channel, we might ask them, and they're like, hey, can we have a couple channels? Can you set up a couple channels for this tournament? And they might give us 2 or 3, and maybe we'll play around a little bit. Or they might be wide open and say, okay, absolutely, just tell us what you need and we'll set it up. But to really have that free hand to set it up in a fun and interesting way for ourselves, we might be better off setting up our own Discord server. We could customize our channels. We can make some for moderators only, where we can talk amongst ourselves and say, hey, these are the people's selections of what they want to play. How about we put them in this configuration? Table 1 has these people, table 2 has these people, and this person, right? So there's that. We could be game specific and say, okay, here's a specific channel for this table and that table and this table, and then they could all communicate on that specific channel, right? You could have a channel set up for table A, table B, table C, and it could be that way they can communicate over there, as opposed to spots like WhatsApp or texting or something like that. So that's one of the advantages here, whereas that might overload the Board Gaming Bros channel with too many channels there if we do everything that we'd like to do. We could customize the roles. So for instance, we could put a tag on people and saying, hey, this guy is from Operation Dragoon, and we could tag him and put him Operation Dragoon, right? That might be fun. Another way of doing things, or another thing we could do, is tag people and say Tournament Winner 2024. Right? And that's always a lot of fun as well, to allow people's reputation to carry on in that sense and be like, this is a tag for 2024, 2025 is this guy, and that would be a lot of fun because people's reputations will proceed ahead of them. That'll be quite enjoyable. And of course, too, with custom roles, we can make ourselves or our moderators as moderators, and that way we can do what we need to do behind the scenes and appoint and change people's nicknames as needed, or give them these roles, as opposed to going through a third party or going through the middleman there of a Board Gaming Bros channel to try to get some of what we want done. And lastly is customized profile nicknames. Now, this is not something, because one of the nice things about Discord is you could name yourself whatever you like, and it doesn't have to be a real name. But what we could do is we can attach people's reputation points. We could do something like, okay, here's let me show you an example. Here is Jinx. Here we go, Jinx, and then I'll go brackets. He has 12 reputational points, and then we could adjust people's nicknames as time goes by, and that would be kind of neat because you can see people's rankings in some sense, and so that would be kind of fun. So I thought that would be a fun little feature for nicknames. Now, if people want to change their name and say, okay, I want to rename myself from Jinx, I want to go to become Edelwolf, then of course they just let us know, and we would rename them to be the same name that everybody else can see on the other channels, right? So stuff like that. So that would be the advantages, pros and cons of having our own Discord server or piggybacking off of a Board Gaming Bros channel. Of course, I like the large community and the developer participation, and they also have a wealth of resources, a backlog of different stuff going on for many years. Well, not many years, but you get the idea. They have a lot of back and forth between people that you can kind of find the answers to your questions. Now, it doesn't need to be, well, we could even do one channel here and the rest of it on our channel or on our server. We could do a bunch of different things there too, but I thought that was something I would ask you guys in general to see what you think of what we should do. Let's see. I'll go over the list of who we have signed up so far. We have myself, Edelwolf, MP7, Major Foe, 5-star General, Elite Golden, Der Sput, The Veteran, Silk, The Warden, and Tactical. And that works out to, I think it's 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And for each of these games, we have about 5 slots. So we're already into our 3rd game here. We need 4 more players to fill out that one. Now, if we end up having more players and we want to figure something out where we have more tables, there are alternatives. Of course, we can have a 3-tiered game. The 1st tier down here, and the 2nd tier and 3rd tier. Keep in mind that's going to be much of the year because you're going to have 3 months at best for the 1st tier, another 3 months here, another 3 months here, and then you have to squeeze summer and Christmas and holidays into there as well. So it's going to take all year to do 3 tiers. So there's different things that we can do to make it happen. But the idea there is, okay, here instead of having, 15 people, here we have a bit more. We have double that. We have it'd be 30 here, I think. Yeah, that'd be 30 people here. So we could change it and shift it. We don't necessarily need to make 3 tiers as well. We could always open up the Italians as their own thing as well. And so you have Germany and Italy and Japan. So you could have 6 per table here if we wanted to do it that way. But we could also expand it this way. If you do 6 per table, that works out to 18. And then the next level up, we'd have to figure out something exactly what to do. But of course, we could play around with the numbers on this end too. Now, in this case, we could always do something like, okay, 1st and 2nd place winners go to compete against the next game, or something like that. We could play it as needed to battle it out to make it happen so that we can go to the final tournament winners. I suspect we'll eventually need to expand beyond 3 tables. In the 1st tier, we'll need to do something like 4, maybe even 5, and but yeah, just in case there are options. So if you have suggestions there on what to do specifically, please feel free to share. Although this one might be a little bit hard for me to understand because it deals with graphics and other stuff. And that is it. That's the summation of what we've got going on now. If you are interested in participating, send me a message here on the comments below saying your name and perhaps sign up on the Discord and try to connect over there as well. Send me a private message. I go by Jinx on the Discord channel there for Board Gaming Bros channel. If you have any suggestions for the reputational system or the black mark system or rules, if you want it set a different way, then let me know as well. If you feel like the player selection system, that there's a better way that you could think of, then let me know. I think the rank top 3 picks are the best system so far. And then, of course, if you want to give me some feedback on whether Discord server or the Board Gaming Bros channel, piggybacking off of them, that would be good too. And if there's some people who say like, you know what, I feel I'd be a really good moderator. I probably won't give you the moderator role because I like to have a bit more of a relationship or understand you a little bit more before we get on to that point. And a lot of people are attracted to the glory, the glitz and the glory. So I want people who will be capable of doing the job and doing it for, years, perhaps. If people are interested in being like, oh, I'd like to be a newscaster, then feel free. You don't need to sign up for that in any way. But these are some of the fun little ideas I've got toying around. And that concludes it, guys. So I hope you enjoy this little opening idea of the Global War 1936 annual YouTube War tournament. I hope to hear from you guys more. Sign up if you're interested. It should be a lot of fun. I really do hope this game lasts only 3 months and not much more than that. Starting January 1st is the idea behind it. And then within the next few weeks, once we get a few more people signed up, once we complete our tables there, then we'll start allocating the players to what sides they are going to be. So we're going to keep the sign up sheet open till the end of November and then spend all of December setting up for a January beginning. Something like that, guys. So thank you all for watching. Cheers.